Hello, hello, my friends. This is Dr. Timothy Lawler, and I am bringing back here again today a very, very good friend of mine, mentor, and fellow business partner, our Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Tim Langan, and he is going to be sharing a very, very interesting piece with you today. And this is why I wanted to bring him out so soon after his, awesome interview. Introducing himself in a couple podcasts, actually our very first podcast. So again, if you have not checked out our podcast channel, please make sure you go ahead and you can actually just search School Shield on iTunes, or an easier access point is that if you go to schoolshieldpodcasts.com, and you will have easy access there. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring out Mr. Tim Langan, and he's going to be sharing an idea that I thought was so brilliant, and it's so important and simple that it can literally change everyone's life listening to this podcast right now. And it has to do with crafting a culture of safety, crafting a culture of responsibility. I'm not going to take his thunder. Without further ado, Mr. Tim Langan, are you out there, buddy?
I am Tim. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you, sir. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it back over to you, Tim, and let you share your thoughts on this.
Well, thanks again for the intro, and I really appreciate the time and dedication that you personally put into this. I want to get to that statement that you made, but first let me say that the actual issue we're talking about is about the very simple things in life and how society how it's become okay to ignore them or discount them, and or conversely embrace them. I think collectively it's a problem owned by everyone here in the good old USA. I think it's a systemic and far-reaching predicament. And I don't think I'll change anybody's minds today, but I may open the door for future discussions and thought, and I think that's what we're here. For example, why do we think a horror movie is considered a thrill? I believe that the subject nature of these films is playing a disturbing role in desensitizing our youth and feeding our mentally ill. I think it's become a homegrown type of acceptable psychological torture. I think it's feeding a culture of terror and terrorism, and I think it's translating into our thought processes and into our minds.
Yeah,
If
I think
Go ahead, Tim.
I don't mean to interrupt you there, Tim, but yeah, it's kind of funny you guys listening to this. You have two Tims on the line, by the way, so we're hopefully won't get you too confused. But I completely just wanted to comment on that real fast, Mr. Langan, because I completely agree. And what he's saying here, folks, at least what I think, Tim, what you're saying, and please clarify, is not you're saying, hey, don't ever watch a horror movie, don't ever, let your kids watch the news. But what he's saying, and I actually touched on this in episode 2 of our podcast, is that we are just so inundated with the violence, and it's just becoming so commonplace, and it just permeates everything we do. I mean, is that kind of what you're saying, Tim?
Yeah, in a nutshell, I mean, I think if you want a thrill, if you want to do something with purpose. Join the Peace Corps, become a public servant, find out what life is really all about. We live in a world, most of us, much better than you know a great percentage of the population in the world, and we're surrounded by pain and suffering, and those who are enduring the real horrors every day. Yet we find some type of amusement, and we're entertained by a movie like Saw, which is nearly a billion dollar franchise. And that's just one example. I don't want to belabor the point, but it's discouraging to see that we invest any money or time into truly delinquent portrayals of inhumanity for gratification. So that's what I'm talking about.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. That's actually a really good example. But that's the cool thing about what we do here, my fellow ladies and gentlemen listening to this podcast, is that we try to perpetuate positivity. We try to get safety and just overall goodwill out into the world. That's why we started this podcast, to share our thoughts, so you guys can hopefully think about these things, maybe have them be conversation topics. If you haven't visited our website, which is www.schoolshield.com, and check out our blog, please do so. But the reason that we did this is because there is an answer. There's something very simple, and this is what really tipped me off to me wanting to get my good friend Mr. Tim Langan here back on this podcast so soon, because it's literally just the simplest of simple actions. And I'm going to turn over to him to share what his very easy and basic solution that any of us can do in any school throughout the United States and actually even worldwide. And so, Tim, what is I'm going to leave it up to you. Go ahead and share your thoughts, buddy.
Ultimately, we have a collective responsibility to maintain the freedoms of the men and women that have fought for this country. That's kind of how I feel. But what does that symbol represent? What are we representing, and how will we be defined in the future? So we can start by preserving a safe and sound environment for our children. Our little ones are more perceptive and conscious about the sensitive nature of the world around them than we're aware. They're intelligent, they're paying attention, and they're learning from us. Equally, young adults, they still need us. In spite of everything, they require love, nurturing, and guidance. So as parents and educators and leaders, let's hope we can teach them something from all this confusion and sadness, not to be a flag waver, but I'm more concerned with how we battle the trends and violence plaguing our schools, communities, and country. I think it's important to know history, but moreover, patterns that cause an effect and the cultural relationship driving our society insane. Now, just sharing out loud, this may be impossible, but it occurred to me that we as a society have been banging the same drum and perpetuating indifference rather than solving the obvious. I think it's incumbent upon us to make a real difference. So I had an idea that we could complete 5 acts of kindness. And if every school, we'd ask every child in every grade, every single year throughout their formal education to complete 5 random acts of kindness throughout the year. Then have those children write a paper or paint a picture that represents one reason, one purpose, one person they chose to honor and why. Have them build a book that will follow them through school so that when they graduate, they will have completed about 65 acts of kindness throughout their young life. Their reward will be the value of their accomplishment, their memories, and the honored whose lives have been touched.
Yeah, that's incredible. Seriously, absolutely incredible. You guys, you guys hear what he just said? It's something so simple as 5 random acts of kindness, and you're talking about throughout the year, right, Tim?
I'm talking about throughout their entire educational process, that if each child completed 5 acts of kindness throughout every single year that they go through school, they will have built a book that they can look back on, and a history of really giving back to not just their community, but to humanity, to their fellow man. And in turn, we give rise to a few building blocks of a happy life. I mean, I can think of a few words: compassion, tolerance, acceptance, giving your life meaning, being proud of something, enlightening. Just, I'm sure, Tim, you can think of a few words, and our listeners can probably think of a few things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just trying to clarify. Like my point being, hey, literally, what he's saying here, ladies and gentlemen, is 5 acts per year throughout the course of a child's education. 5 acts per the entire school year. That's not that's not a lot of acts, and that's not a lot of documentation of those acts. By asking the child to maybe write a paper, or I love the idea of painting a picture. It's a different expression point for a lot of people that they don't really focus on. And then at the end, they can absolutely look back and see what they've accomplished. Like you're saying, a few words to express some of those acts, just basic love. Just caring. I don't
Exactly.
know, just being thankful. And we could go on and on. So you guys out there listening, just kind of recapping, repetition is the mother of all learning, which is why I always repeat things, but it's so true. And that is, you know, if you guys are a teacher, if you're a parent, if you're a school administrator, we encourage you to try this. I don't know what can we call it, Tim. The 5 simple love actions. I don't know the 5 simple kindness actions. Or positive actions to do to just help perpetuate that culture of positivity within your own local school environment. And all he's saying, ladies and gentlemen, is to make sure that you have them do 5 random acts of kindness per year, and document it in some way, and then, man, that would just change. That would change any culture. It all starts with the mind. I love it. I love it, Tim. Um, that's awesome. I don't have much more to add. Any closing thoughts? I love the idea. Thank you for taking the time to be on here and sharing that with us. Any other closing remarks, my friend?
Um, Essentially, I think we've been slowly allowing ourselves to inhale, assimilate, and drink the Kool-Aid. And I think in the interest of national security, which our precious children, they shouldn't suffer from any questionable security issues ever at any cost. The price of their innocence should not be evaluated and left to chance. So I'm taking an opportunity to get involved. I know you are, Tim, and the rest of the staff at School Shield. So I encourage everybody to listen, and maybe they can provide some feedback with respect to the 5 acts of kindness, and you know how many other words that describe the sense of accomplishment there are. I think that would be huge.
Absolutely. Thank you again, buddy. And kind of like what he just said, ladies and gents, if you are liking what you're hearing, please subscribe to our podcast channel. If you do not know how to get access to our podcast, you can go and visit www.schoolshieldpodcasts.com or visit our blog, which is www.schoolshield.com. Please also visit our Facebook fan page and any other posts that we put out there at our blog. Please comment, share, like on Twitter. We appreciate it. We will see you on the next one. Take care.